Well, it isn't just electric car residuals that are at rock bottom this week. New car manufacturing has been announced today to be at a 70-year low. Add to that more job cuts, more government-led legislation changes, more bewilderment from consumers on what cars to actually go out there and buy. And as you can see, it's been a very packed week in the world of car news. So grab yourself a brew. Here's everything you need to know to be fully up to speed. Hello, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Let's get into our first story today because we do have quite a bit to cover. Electric cars half in value after just 2 years. As many of us are aware, electric cars, they do tend to depreciate more than the petrol or diesel equivalents. I didn't quite think it was half value after 24 months though. Heavy discounting and growing range of cheaper models blamed for driving depreciation. Now, I'm not going to read through any of these articles fully. We'll read a bit to get some context on the story, then we'll have our own bit of discussion here. Electric vehicles are losing more than half their value in the first 2 years of ownership amidst a wave of heavy discounting by car makers. A typical EV retains only 49% of its value after 24 months, a sharp decline from the 83% seen as recently as 2022, according to Cox Automotive. For a new car bought at £40,000, that would translate to just £19,600  2 years later. The depreciation figure compares with an average of 70% for diesel and petrol cars. Cox Automotive said the faster rate of depreciation amongst nearly new EVs was being driven by discount wars being fought by manufacturers, which have been aggressively cutting prices to help them meet net zero targets. Right, couple of points to talk about here. They talk about nearly new EVs. Now, I can't be the only one that's seen these claims that nearly new EVs, 2 to 5 year old cars, are absolutely flying off of forecourts, can't keep up with demand, selling like hotcakes. This begs to differ, doesn't it? Because if you're having to discount a product by 50, 60% of its original value just 24 months on, that product's not selling very well at all, is it? The other thing it mentions here is that manufacturers have been aggressively cost-cutting new models, and that's harming the residual value of the used models. What I'd say in response to that is, can you blame them? They're being held to this quota. They are mandated by the government to sell a certain amount of electric vehicles. And if they don't sell that amount of electric vehicles, they're going to be fined to the tune of £12,000, £13,000 per vehicle out with the quota. So, of course, they're going to do everything in their power to try and shift these electric cars, including cost cutting, including rationing petrol and diesel cars, because they don't want to be hit with these fines. And from the consumer's point of view, why would you want to buy one of these cars? You've just witnessed it lose 50, 60% of its original value, and you're now buying a car with a used battery. Okay, 2 to 5 years old, the battery is probably still going to have a good bit of life left yet, but you just never know. I think eventually they'll probably mandate some sort of battery health report that has to be carried out when you're selling an electric vehicle, and that'll go some ways to helping the residual value of quality electric used cars. But until then, I certainly can't see this getting any better. And naturally, that's having a knock-on effect to our manufacturing industry, isn't it? Case in point, a story released just today, UK car making plunges to lowest for over 70 years. In 70 years, we haven't made as few cars in the UK, and that is a sad fact in itself, isn't it? The number of vehicles manufactured in the UK fell sharply last month as US tariffs and the timing of Easter hit production. The just under 60,000 vehicles made was the lowest April output for more than 70 years, with the exception of 2020 when production effectively stopped COVID. The SMMT said a wider change in the industry as it shifts from petrol cars to electric cars has also temporarily reduced output. However, new trade deals in the US, EU and India may help boost upcoming production, the industry said. See, the issue is we're in this double bind, aren't we? Because we've just spoken about manufacturers are being held to this quota. They need to produce a certain amount of electric vehicles. Meanwhile, on the market, public buyers, they're just not going for it. There's just not the appetite. There's not the demand for these cars on the market. Last year, 1 in 10 EVs sold to a private buyer. The rest of them were funneled through well, salary sacrifice schemes. They were put out on lease deals and so on, and you can see why, can't you? Because at least then you don't have one single individual who's bearing the brunt of all that depreciation that we've just spoke about. Case in point. And we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen the effect firsthand. Ford have closed plants, Honda have closed plants, Stellantis, who make Citroen, Peugeot, Vauxhall and so on, they've closed plants in the UK. It's a bit of a crying shame, really, and it's not getting better, because on to our next story. Funny how these all link together, isn't it? You can join the dots. Major car brand announces 3,000 job losses amid impact from falling electric vehicle sales. Every story is saying the same thing, isn't it? Anyway, so this is Volvo, by the way. So Volvo has announced it's going to cut 3,000 jobs as part of a restructuring plan aimed at slashing costs by 18 billion Swedish krona. The Swedish automaker is grappling with high costs, a slowdown in electric vehicle demand and trade uncertainty. The move comes as the company attempts to boost its share price and increase demand for its vehicles through business restructuring and cost-cutting measures. The layoffs represent about 15% of the company's office staff and will affect almost all areas of the business. And of course, there's these justifiable reasons, the ZEV mandate, the uncertainty. However, Volvo, this is a side note, they've not done themselves any favours in recent years as the industry and the public, the consumers, turn their attention to hybrids and the UK government by allowing them to be for sale after 2030. Volvo, they've made a bit of a hash of things, haven't they? Because, I made a video on this recently. Their ERAD system that they fit in their hybrids up until, last couple of years is terrible. Side note, make sure you don't buy one of those, by the way. So Volvo, they're not doing themselves any favours, but again, they're being affected just as every manufacturer is. Now, I do appreciate we're a little bit electric heavy today. It's just the way the week has gone. And I had to include this. This is an unusual one. This only came out today. Again, this is the story that I'd like to hear your thoughts on. So EV chargers no longer require planning permission. Yeah. Move to accelerate the rollout of charging infrastructure is claimed to save months of delays and cut costs. The UK government will now allow the installation of EV chargers without planning permission from a local authority, regardless of whether it's for private or public use. This is quite unusual, isn't it? So the move is intended to accelerate the rollout of EV chargers across the UK. The previous Conservative government having set a target for the installation of 300,000 chargers by 2030. Installations of private chargers at homes with off-street parking were already exempt from planning permission in most cases. However, the requirement of a green light from local authorities for larger public developments had previously been cited as a key bottleneck in the rollout of the UK's charging network. Now, this is interesting because you can't imagine a world where a petrol station would ever be put in place without planning permission, can you? I mean, in the UK, for those of you who don't know, you can't build a fence higher than 6'5" on your own property without seeking planning permission. So the idea that a company could install a bank of charger stations without planning permission is pretty bizarre. What do you think about that one? Maybe it isn't a worry at all if this next article is anything to go off of. How can I protect my EV charger from being stolen? Now, we've all seen it. That's not unique. Thieves roll up to a public charger site, they lop off the cables, 10, 12 of them in one go, and they take them away and cash in on the copper. That's been happening since the beginning of time. What makes this unique is this is someone's home. So I believe this is the first time that thieves have actually targeted a home for a charger cable. Now, I'm not going to read through the full article. What I did want to include, though, is the suggestions, the helpful suggestions from the police to EV owners on how you can stop thieves from stealing your cable. So if you've got alloys, wrap the wire around the alloys and padlock it. Or, how about this? Use cable cover ramps and have wires underneath the car parked on top to protect the wires. I'm kind of struggling to imagine how that would look. Imagine you need to leave the house in a hurry and you have padlocked your charger cable to your own wheel, inevitably scratching it up in the process. That's kind of the least of your worries if you're having to leave in a rush or something catches fire. Or, yeah, I'm not sure these suggestions are going to work. Let's hope this doesn't become mainstream. Next, the slow death of the manual car revealed in exclusive new data. There are now very few manual cars available to buy, a trend that's been exacerbated by the rise of EVs. It's kind of sad, this, isn't it? The UK has always had a strong foothold when it came to manual cars. You don't get that in some parts of Europe. You certainly don't get that over in the USA. When I was younger, it was certainly the case that we always looked for manual cars, one, because they were more engaging to drive, but also they tended to be a bit cheaper to buy, and they were simpler. You could often work on them yourself and spent many a weekend under a car, sorting out a clutch or whatever with friends. You just couldn't do that with an automatic gearbox. They were far more complicated, and for that reason, that's why we went for manuals. But if you look at test data now, even automatic tests, data from the DVSA, automatics are on the rise. Meanwhile, manual tests are on the decline. A lot more people are just turning to automatic. Bit of a shame, really. I think there is always going to be a place for enthusiasts when it comes to manual cars, but certainly for the everyday, I think it's an automatic future ahead. Now, luckily for you, I did just make a guide yesterday on the best budget automatics to buy on the used market. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Go off and click that after this video if you like. And do remember, any used car that you buy, make sure you're purchasing a quality HPI check to let you know if that car's ever been a write-off, if it's still got finance on it, amongst a host of other things that you definitely want to know when buying a used car. Better yet, use my 20% discount voucher to get a little bit more money off, and it's only going to cost you the cost of, what, a couple of brews nowadays. It's well worth doing. And on to our final story. Now, yes, I am a little bit late to the party on this one. It was just over a week ago, but it's a significant story, important story in the car world, so that's why I wanted to include it, but I stuck it on at the end. Honda slashes $15 billion from electric car budget to focus on hybrids. Japanese car giant scales back EV sales forecasts as demand disappoints. Honda scaling back investment in EVs by a third due to lackluster demand. Now, similar to Toyota, they see the future being hybrid, not necessarily EVs, and if anything, it's even more justifiable now, isn't it, that we've seen such lackluster demand in the market for EVs, both new and used. I think it's a wise decision on Honda's part. You look at what's happening in the world, particularly here in the UK, now that EVs and hybrids are going to be allowed for sale beyond 2030, inevitably more buyers are going to be looking towards the hybrid model, aren't they? They already are. Look at the sales figures. Plug-in hybrids, especially those non-plug-in hybrids, which are just far more suitable for a larger majority of people who don't have a driveway, who can't charge at home. They just make more sense. So smart move by Honda, I think, here. Now, as ever, thank you so much for joining. If you have enjoyed this video, please do hit the subscribe button. We're gunning for that 100,000 subscriber. We're so close. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll see you for the next video.